Hey guys, welcome to another episode of A to Z. I am Zero Remsen, and below me is Aaron Chase. For those of you who are new to the podcast, I'll be your resident Yang, and he'll be your resident Yin. What that means is I'm going to be the optimistic, airy-fairy, rose-colored glasses. The world is beautiful and nice, and nobody does anything wrong. And he's going to be the realistic, the pessimistic, the grounded, and somewhere between the two of us we'll trade off. I'll get a little more real, he'll get a little more positive, and it's nice to see our interactions and our mindsets and all that jazz. So that's what the podcast is. We're also stand-up comedians. Just side note, you can watch this on the Buddy System comedy on YouTube. I recently tried to search us, and I didn't realize how many A to Z podcasts there were, or A to Z shows. So gonna try to bump those numbers up so then we can be higher on the search bar. But again, find us on Buddy System Comedy. All right. Now Aaron says he has a topic that he wants to talk about, or a couple. And so I'm interested. I don't know. I'm just as I don't know as you guys. So here we go.
Sorry, Aaliyah wants to go get food or something. I think she heard. Yeah, she hears food being sautéed outside. Okay, so the topics are, maybe write it down. I don't know, because we might forget. But it's allowing myself to have fun and why I don't.
Okay.
It is like why it's hard for me to have fun.
Okay.
Steven Espinosa. And the through line of the Buddy System podcasts in general and my effect on them.
Okay. So, why fun? Steven Espinosa, Buddy Cast effect.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the order that you want to hit, or?
Let's do Buddy Cast first, then let's do reverse.
Tarantino in it. Okay.
Yeah. This is some Pulp Fiction podcasting.
Got it. Okay, Buddy. I've actually never seen what you call it.
Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction. Yes, I've never seen Pulp Fiction.
Oh, you're making a mistake. We should stop right now. You need to go watch.
It's just watch Pulp Fiction and then reconvene.
It is. It's anyway.
I mean, clearly talked about. I know all the references. I just have very little idea of what actually happens in that movie. I know they go down. I know that Samuel L. Jackson interrogates a guy. I know that he has a wallet that says "bad mother" on it. I know there's a briefcase that we never find out what's inside of it. And yeah, I think that's about it.
There are so many other iconic moments, but watch it.
And the needle chest thing.
Needle chest thing. Quentin Tarantino says nigger like 5 times, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he in Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, he puts himself in a lot of his movies.
Huh. I mean, I knew that on this end because I knew it on the back because I've seen several other Tarantino movies and I've seen him pop up. He was in Django and the other ones, but I didn't know he consistently.
Yeah, that's a thing. If he things like Inglourious Bastards, he wouldn't put himself in, but he puts himself in a lot of his movies.
Yeah. Okay. So tangent.
Yes.
You were saying Buddy Cast effect.
Okay, because I'm in damn near all the podcasts, there's this consistent, if you watch one podcast, basically you're hearing my perspective bounced off of myself, off of Zero, and off of Will, and off of George, and off of who we have. So it's it feels like the Buddy System is this weird, it's like, what's up?
Amalgamations of different perspectives.
Yeah, almost, because I'm affecting all of them. Because in the last Buddy Cast we had with Mike James, we talked about Steven Espinosa. Because of that, it made me think, I'm going to do an episode about Steven Espinosa on the ACMM. Then I was like, I want to know Zero thinks about this whole thing. And so it's just...
Yeah. Just watch. I would love to see somebody, hopefully, in the future where things work out, that somebody puts together some version. I've always talked about this, different compilations. One I would love to see is, each one of those as the timeline progresses. Somebody puts them in order of who you talk to.
Right.
So it's first one was the cast with Mike. then you did the ACMM,
Yep.
then you did this one, and then you're gonna be on his podcast or something.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
be
know.
I'm gonna be on Jay Light's podcast on Thursday.
Okay, so if I come up there, just somebody being like, and these are all the Aaron, it would be like Aaron Chase talking about Steven Espinosa for 5 minutes straight, like one of those videos.
Yeah. So yeah,
But
it was something.
anywho,
I guess that's a short thing. It was just something I just realized as we were coming into this. I was like, oh fuck! Like there's gonna be I think it's a good. Weirdly enough, it's actually a good incentive for people to listen to all the podcasts to get full context of everything. But
right, it's like the Marvel movies. It's
yeah.
just better to watch them all.
Yes. And then okay, so Steven Espinosa and the ability to be happy.
Okay, well, hold on.
Yeah.
I also had thought just now there was if those are all that's what I was gonna say. If that happened to me and I had, because I recently went back and watched some other podcasts that I was on, and because they're all your first podcast, it is very much that, like, again, on a micro level, I can't humble this enough, as much as I know nothing is going on and we're not anybody. But like on the humblest level, you know that thing where you watch like a celebrity you like's interviews and stuff, and you start to see them, like, they answer the same questions over and over again. And it's like that. Like, I watched back some of the podcasts that I've been on so far, and because they're all comedian-run podcasts, they're all about being in stand-up, that I end up saying the same thing over and over. But like you, with the different versions, there's like some that I say one thing and some that I say another thing, and like there's a kind of a contradiction in some of them.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if I did as many podcasts as you do, then if you aligned all my pieces, you'd be like, this guy has no idea what he's doing. He's just like, every single one is different in a very like long ranty way for some reason. That's the only through line, is that he never is able to do it in under 2 minutes. But
I think I'm consistent with what I say, my belief systems, I think. I don't know. But
isn't that everybody?
Yeah, that's fair. But Steven Espinosa. So
okay,
in the Mike James episode, I forgot how it got brought up, but we were talking about the Beltran's mic on Wednesday and how naturally fucking funny Steven Espinosa is.
Okay.
Like, how, like, it's funny, George and Mike had completely different reactions. They were like, yeah, you were like, well, I guess that nigga's all right, I suppose.
No, like, here's how my brain went. I was like, okay, it was going to be rude, because I know that name, and I know when I see him, I'm going to be like, right. But it's that thing where it's like, which one was Steven?
Paul Blart. Paul Blart.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So we were talking about him, and I was just thinking back to that mic, and I remember thinking before going to the mic, like, I think we're all going to be kind of rusty. Even though I've been doing the streets, there is this rust that needs, like, there's a different vibe. And you would have thought Steven has just been doing mics this whole time because of how smooth and just comfortable and just naturally funny he is. Right. And one of the things I was thinking about when watching him, I was like, he's fun. He's very fun to watch. And you know me, I compare myself to other comics. That's kind of how I gauge myself in many ways. And I know I'm not fun. Like, I'm interesting. I'm engaging to listen to. I think that if you listen to my stand-up, you'll leave thinking about some stuff. But it's not fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was watching that, and I was like, I need more of that. I need to take more of that. I think part of why my style is the way it is because I come from a theater background in film and stuff. And there's always this, like, artsy way of going about things where Steven, huh?
I was just going to say, that is one of those weird intersections of that type of thing. Like, it's weird how much in the arts there's like this serious don't get me wrong, it's like there is certain stuff, again, sometimes you got a message or whatever, there's stuff you can talk, art does move people, it does that. But it's interesting how many times, like, it's like more serious than it is fun. Yeah. Like, it's more like, okay, we're saying something, or I'm doing something, or I'm changing this thing, or how we view this, or I'm trying to move everybody with my thing. Where, as opposed to, like, I just made my art because it was a good time. Like, when's the last time you heard somebody just talking about their thing like, oh, I like it, so I did it.
Yeah.
I liked it, so I did it because it was fun. Like everybody's got some like, I had a plan, I had a vision, I had a thing, and that dichotomy, and it feels the same way. It's this ever echo in everything between what I call the science and the art, the fun and the logical, where it's like this balance of like comedy in classical art is usually not successful, and it's a shame. In classical art,
Comedy in classical art. Classical art meaning like paintings of like.
this is a comment, by the way.
Yeah, so yeah. Comedy in classical art is usually not successful, and it's a shame. Can you elaborate?
Oh, like I think what he's saying, or they're saying, is like if you try to be comedic within the classical art setting, classically taught art,
Oh, yeah.
doesn't pan over well. Like if it doesn't have like a significance, comedy is kind of like, oh, then brush it off. It's not anything to be. It's to be respected.
Yeah.
Or like looked at.
Artists are super fucking pretentious, and I've grown up in a pretentious bubble when it comes to the arts, where Steven has grown up, I assume, not. It's bars and prisons and fucking around in raves and going to ska bands or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's coming at it from a completely different angle than I am. And
Yeah.
I want more of that. I was thinking like I know I've perfected a skill within my style that I think is unique and that I'm proud of. I'm proud of being able to like sit in a dour place, be able to talk about things that most comics, at least in my level, don't seem to talk about. But God damn it, is it fucking exhausting and not fun to take in.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm glad you agree. You suck.
Yeah, it's a part of it. No, I mean that's the part of it. It's like the ever balance between being one or the other. Again, it's kind of like your belief systems. Like you pretty much lean one way or the other, but like it helps to like move that bar to the center. You're trying to push the bar to the center. Like you said, you came up in your background, you have your history, all that stuff. Converting all that negative energy into positive energy is different. Yeah, it's like you have all your things. That's what resonates with you. That's what works. And that's why those things come easier to you because you're used to that. To try to go to the opposite end and get that's where it's it's like, okay, nerd reference, Avatar. You know how like Aang is an airbender.
Yeah.
So his hardest thing to learn was earthbending.
Yeah.
Because it was like the opposite end, because airbending is about being loose and freeform, but earthbending is like hard and down solid. And so it's like you're trying to jump to the other end of the spectrum, and not even jump, but like take it in and mold it to be a part of you. And when it's not your natural energy, you have a harder time with that. It's kind of like me and like taking
short spurt jokes, like punch, like short,
small, like doing anything in chunks, like trying to bring my stuff down to be like even a minute 30. It's like that's rough for me because I'm a talker, if it's not obvious by this podcast. But it's interesting.
So I'm trying to. That's the new thing I'm working on now. Because I know I have a sillier side. You've seen it. I'm sure you've seen me be fucking silly and fun and good. Oh, all right.
No, totally.
But I have like
this podcast has been nothing but a fun jaunt through the forest.
My job.
Roll the clips of Aaron being silly. My mom said. All right. Do we got another one? Do we have another thing? I got called the N-word when I was. Okay, can I get a bit? You know, white women are awfully pompous. Oh, he's gone. But yeah, I mean, I'm joking, but Aaron, like, he's a comedian. He's got jokes, and they're worth several spread throughout all of the things that we've seen, all the stuff, words. Once again, we're at a situation where I am left to try to entertain you. My little thing that I do when when Aaron's gone. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about sex, baby. I'm kidding. Let's not do that. This isn't high school. I don't want to hear about your name. You broke him, dude. Yeah, sometimes I'm just funny like that. Sometimes I'm so hilarious that it just glitches out the IG live. Hey, we're doing A to Z for those of you who don't know, but Aaron's thing glitched out, so I gotta wait for him to come back. In the meantime, in the green time, how you guys dealing with all this heat? I don't know if those of you that are in California, freaking, yesterday was insane. I had my AC bumping at full, like, all the way up notches at 7 in my room, and I got it to be relatively comfortable. But walking out into my living room, it was a sauna. My roommates had to open the front door, and it was weirdly cooler outside than it was in our house. And they had like 7 fans going. Like, I don't know if we're ever going to figure out how to solve the earth dying thing. But what's weird is I could have sworn I saw, like, just a little bit ago, one of those clippy, like, the things you see on Facebook where somebody has the 2 white bars and they, like, explain out the thing as it's happening.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Yeah, I can't hear you at all right now. I'm guessing I can't hear you. You're still talking, but I can't reach your lips. I assume it has something to do with the headphones. Lying in a pool of my own sweat and despair, I can hear Aaron. Hey, well, I can't hear you, no. This is the worst part. Should we just start over? No, we can't, because we'd have to. Can you put the 2 together? Okay. Can we start? Yeah, we're gonna start this one, and then I wish you knew sign language. If you knew sign language, this would be easier right now, because then we could sign together, but we both understand. All right, I'm gonna hang up. Oh, you can hear me? Oh, shit. Okay, well, I didn't need to use sign language. All right, I'm going to hang up, and then we'll start over again. Hang up, and then we'll start over again. Hang up, and then we'll start over again. Yeah, having fun, being silly. I know that that's what we were saying. I know that I have a very silly side of me, especially naturally, but it was just fucked up because of yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And that was leading into the other part of it is I don't want to say allowed, but just the way I grew up in my family, I wasn't able to have fun. Like, I wasn't allowed to have fun.
Right.
And so, or at least fun in the way I perceived it.
Yeah, or the way you wanted to.
Yeah. And so now it's hard for me to have fun. Like, it's physically hard for me to enjoy myself. Like, when I'm out on the street doing bits of stuff, or when I get into a groove, I feel myself in that groove, and then I stop immediately. It's like when you see KJ riff, he's expanding, and it's going at all these other points. It's like, I know I can do that, but my natural inclination is to stop because I've just been taught not to have fun.
Right.
So now I need to learn how to have fun, which is so sad. That's such a sad...
Yeah. Listen, if we stopped every time you said a sad thing, we'd never have this podcast.
This is true.
But also, it's kind of, I mean, it is what it is. We all got demons, and even those of us who learned how to work them and make them look good. In the same way that Stephen F. Spinoza is very, like, easygoing and free-flowing with it. Like, again, that's the thing. Do you ever feel this way as a comedian? Because you know how the sausage is made, you can kind of see behind the scenes, and, like, you hear the real underneath the joke. Yeah. Where it's like, the line, and I think I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast or with a friend. Sometimes my lines get blurred, but it's like that line between comedy and like drama,
Tragedy.
like tragedy, is so paper thin that all it takes is like a music cue. Like if you take a movie with a very funny scene in it, and then you take all the goofy background noise out, and then you just let it play in silence, like it's kind of harsh. It's kind of rough, especially when like then people laugh at each other, like in those harsh, rough situations. Like there was a, and then I lost it. Neither here nor there. What I was saying was when he was doing those bits, as much as they were funny, not taking it away from him, he did very well that night. And like when he did the bit, like my brain kicked into like, oh, you went to jail?
Yeah.
Oh, they used to like call you names and it wasn't like fun name. Like it's like the after scene of like, yeah, the joke stopped at him going like, oh, Paul Blart, and he's like, yeah, no, blah blah other stuff. But I'm like,
He was still in jail.
Yeah, I'm like there's stuff that happened after that.
Yeah.
And like what happened in that section. Or maybe I don't know. I don't know how long he was in or what all the details is, but that's how my brain played it out. Is like I saw the reel behind the joke and I was like, that's interesting. Because it's that thing that I talk about where it's like you don't really, and again, it's all a performance to a certain extent, but like you don't see comics as who they are until you're off stage actually talking to them. And even then, there's still a level of like disconnect.
Well,
so like
I think
on stage. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's what is weirdly. I think I'm the opposite. I think that the audience, at least from what I'm seeing on the street, the audience is kind of seeing who I am on the street, and they're gravitating. I think that's one of the other things that's gotten me into this especially dark groove, is that when I'm out there doing all this stuff, I don't know what's going on in people's psyche, but it's really dark. Because every time I'm like, don't get me wrong, when I'm being funny, that's good. People are enjoying themselves. But when I get into those darker places, there's this feel. People are like, oh, I need this. I don't know why. They really need somebody to be like, I'm sad. Is anybody else sad?
Right, because it's a very meta thing that we touched on kinda, and I say kinda as if I don't rant for hours about things. But it's that thing where like the joke that everybody makes, right? Where we're too consumed with media and the internet isn't real and it's all about us putting out our best selves and like the most positive image of all the stuff, that even when a negative thing comes through, it's kind of like, well, you're better now, right? Like you're dealing with it, you're working on it, you're making improvements. So like the negative within the internet is kind of like a false negative. So given that everyone believes in that and feels it, or even if you don't believe it, you are taking that in the same way that like making yourself watch a bunch of really gory movie does desensitize you to a certain level of violence and gore. In that same way, us only seeing the positives of everybody's lives has desensitized us to our own sadness, to the point where we're like, well, then I can't express that. I'm not allowed to express that. If I express that, people freak out and they like, holy geez, it's such a big deal. So I don't feel comfortable to, because then people will turn me into like the super victim, and I don't want to be victimized or looked at like that. So having somebody to be that outlet, to be the person that raises your hand and goes did you watch the Trevor Noah special where he was like, Nelson Mandela said the thing of like, the people within that system are equally victims of that system, the people who run the system. It's a special that he did a while ago, and he was making a point that like racism, all that stuff, bad, all that stuff. But he was making the point that even the people who are helping the messed up system run are equally victims of that system as the people who are getting stepped on by that system. And all of that being said is just saying how within the sadness culture that we do between each other, that whole play, that you being the one to raise your hand and go, I'm sad, gives people the outlet to go like, okay, good. Like he'll take the brunt of everybody being like concerned about him. Like, you know how a couple episodes ago I was like, Johnny and Nick were like, hey, are you okay? Like that energy, he'll take that for me, and I'll just go to him and be like, hey, yo, me too. But like between us,
Yeah.
I'm really sad too. Just so you know, you're not alone. but also thank you for making me not feel alone, because we're all kind of we're that thing between the internet where it's like we're alone together. We're
Yeah.
all together, very closely connected, but the disconnection is we're not in each other's space. The versions of ourselves that we're putting out there isn't the most accurate version. And even when you do start to do that, people, again, they get very concerned very quickly because we're so used to it being a certain way. So it's all very fascinating. But yeah, I agree. I think people need it. I think there's a latent sadness that's been going on. One of my friends brought this up that I don't know if you noticed, but I did, at least in these last couple of years. And it may have been always, and maybe now we're just starting to notice it. But like, I don't know if we're more depressed or if people are becoming more okay with talking about being depressed. But the amount of people who are dealing with depression is astronomical. Like, it's insane to me how many people have, like, they've contemplated like full on suicide. There's people who are just like, I just live in a day-to-day darkness, like all that stuff. You know, it's like my perspective was that everybody was living like me. Like, yeah, you have a down moment, but you're not like depressed. But then like you hear them talk, I hear you talk, I hear other people talk, I hear my friends talk, and then they're like, no, dude, I was going through it, or I am going through it. And it's like, I don't know if it's because of the world we live in. Like, to be fair, it's not like the world's great right now. Like, it's not amazing in some regards. That's the thing. It's like, where do you look? It's like, in a world where you can control, like, it's weird. It's weird. Like, we're in a world where we're given the keys to whatever media we consume. I take pills to keep me from going insane. Gritted teeth emoji. Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, and whatever you need, people, like, we just need to get through. But it's something deeper, and I've always said that, and I always say this. There's something deeper going on that, like, as a collective whole, if we did a poll of how many people are like sad, I think that poll would come up really scary. And like, it's leaning not towards, like, people are surviving. And even I'm saying, like, even before the COVID, like, because obviously COVID didn't help at all. It made it way, 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 way worse. But like, even before that, people were dealing with stuff.
Yes, people were reacting. I was saying the same type of shit before, and people were reacting the way they were reacting. But now it's just turned. It's like it's just turned up. The heat's been turned up. Right. And so right now, just as a comic, though, I'm glad that I do that. I'm glad that people feel the way they do when I talk about that stuff on the street. But as a comic, right. I need to get better at this, and I got to work on weak spots. So that's what I'm working on right now. And I don't know, mentally speaking, I don't know how to go about it. So I think it's a byproduct of, what's up?
I'm just letting the audience who watches this later know that that's a comment that you're reading because they don't see them. I wish they like pop up, but like they don't.
I think it's a byproduct of the mixing of our society becoming shittier, and it's also becoming more acceptable to be open about it. I agree. And it's, so you remember, okay, way in the beginning of this podcast, remember the McDonald's issue when
me in the future, edit in a flashback about McDonald's. I'm not going to
you would have to look through a lot of very depressing stuff, but the Postmates McDonald's thing, do you remember that?
Yes.
Then over time, I've gotten very good at being like, well, and then just kind of keep going. Like, it annoys, it's like a spike, but that spike doesn't keep going. It's a spike of like, fuck, and then I stop. So now I think the new goal with this podcast is, how can Aaron have fun? How can Aaron eat?
How can Aaron have fun?
Yeah, it's like, it was how can Aaron not lose his goddamn mind every day? Mm-hmm. And now it's like, okay, now how can Aaron have fun? So
got it.
Fix it, Zero. Do the magic.
Right, here we go. Where is my therapist book? How does F equal fun? You had me and you lost me.
It's hard with reading it's hard. I'm sure he'll elaborate.
Yeah. Okay.
But
okay. So your thing is, how do you have fun? Oh, well, I have a song for you.
Okay.
Dun,
F is for
dun,
friends that do stuff together.
U is for you and me. But yeah, no, it's
Oh, that's the
that's the
problem.
problem
Yeah.
we're solving. How does equal fun question mark? Oh, that's okay. Got it.
Right,
That's
right.
okay. So the answer that I would give you is it's the meta of like it's you remember Cars, the first Cars,
I was an adult when that movie came out.
so you never saw Cars.
It looked like a really bad Pixar movie, and I think it's one of the worst. So I never watched Cars.
That explains so much. I'm kidding. Cars is it's fine. It just has a good metaphor for what I'm about to say. In
Okay.
it, Lightning McQueen. Here we go. Plot synopsis of Cars, you guys. Is this what you signed up for? Because that's what you're getting. So Lightning McQueen is a very talented car. He's a very good racer. He's winning. He's winning. He's winning. He then has to. I can't remember why, but like he gets trapped out in the middle of nowhere, and he has to figure out how to get back to the racing track so he can win his whole thing and get back on top. He's used to being the star, but now he's out in the middle of podunk nowhere, and they're making him repave a road, and it's a whole to-do. Meanwhile, he runs into this old car, and the old car, there's this like mountainside that he has to turn, but if he drives it like how he's always driven it, then he'll like roll off, and it'll just like crash, and he'll be off over towards the side. So he can't hit this turn the way he's been hitting this turn. So the old car tells him, in order to hit this turn, you have to go left. I think it's like go left to go right. Like you do like your brain is telling you like you got a full swing, but you got to go with the flow of it. So all of that being said is me going, sometimes to turn left, you have to turn right. So thank you. I appreciate you knowing Disney references. Essentially with the fun problem, in order for you to have fun, you have to stop trying to have fun. The meta is fun comes to you, and when you try to grab at it, it runs away from you. Like you know those you know that squiggly line that you'll get in your eye? That like if you follow it with your eye, it like moves?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Or do you know the dandelion that like
Yeah.
if you grab it, it'll like whistle
Yeah.
out of your hand? Like that thing? That dandelion is fun. So instead of being like, I'm gonna have fun now, like I can grab the fun. Oh man. And he's gone as soon as my metaphor started to line up and make sense. The most restarty episode ever. This is absolutely, I'm gonna call this episode Restart.
Go for it. Are we doing the
But,
clap?
yeah, I'm doing the clap. Hold on. All right, we're back again. By the way, tiny thing. Whenever you start up the IG Live, it has a thing that says title and then fundraiser. And I just clicked fundraiser to see what was in it, and it's like, hey, your thing live is going to donate 100% of whatever you raise to these fundraisers. And I'm like, hey, how about instead of a fundraise button, we have like a donate button? I'm broke. Can we afford our thing and then help? And also, can they get like a percentage of it? Like, I'm fine to give some to charity. They got to get 100%? All right. I'm greedy. Back to the fun thing.
Yeah. Can you make
So,
the metaphor a little more streamlined? Because I'm starting to get confused.
okay, streamline metaphor. I'm going to go with the dandelion one. Dandelion. It's coming into your view. The dandelion is fun. If you want to grab a dandelion, you don't go grabbing at it, because if you grab at it, the wind force will throw it away. So you get fun by not trying to get fun. You have fun by doing whatever is naturally in you that makes you smile. Whatever makes you smile or laugh or any of that stuff, that is what you do. And that is where the fun is. You just follow that feeling. Just follow that feeling. Don't try to start it. Don't try to stop it. It just happens. Like going for fun. So if you're in your head and you're like, okay, I'm gonna have fun now,
Yeah.
it's guaranteed to not happen. But if you're in your head and you're like, I'm just gonna relax, I'm just gonna let whatever comes, comes. Like my head, my heart, my body, my soul, whatever that is, I'm gonna let it be. So like if you wanted to have, or I'll explain for myself. If I wanted to have fun right now, all I'm doing is turning off my brain and letting whatever it wants to do happen. I stop getting in my way. I go ahead and I just, like it's like a stupid thing.
I thought you just paused for a second. Sorry, go.
No, it's unbelievably stupid. Like if you could imagine like a little kid isn't thinking about the thing. It's just like they do a thing. It's like I wanna just kind of like tug on my shirt, and this is fun for me. Like I don't know why, it just is to do this.
Before we keep going down the fun route, I wanted to point something out that I like about, I guess, all of these podcasts, but specifically this one. It reminds me of when you and Holland are very similar in this.
Okay.
In that,
that's because I've seen some of the Holland stuff, and I'm like, man, I don't think I'm like, man, he's like, whoa, like, okay, you got a thing.
You're similar in that I think your upbringings were probably comparable in that people in lack of trauma.
Yeah.
And you guys both do this thing where you're like, I'm going to decide to fucking do this. And there we go. And
yeah.
It's fascinating. And I think what makes me happy about this podcast is the same thing that makes me happy about the fact that I'm able to be in my lane on the street, that I'm able to do all of that depressing shit, is because I think people are going to watch this and you see a progression. Like, for someone like you or Holland who didn't have all of this crazy trauma, yeah, of course, you can just fucking be happy. But for someone like me, you have to dig through and sift through garbage to get to any sort of cleanliness. And I think that this podcast and all these podcasts are an example of, like, you can get out. It just takes a long time. There's a lot of little steps you got to take. So, like, in this situation, I know I'm going to get to the place of fun. I know I am because I know how we did not anger and freaking out at McDonald's. And it just took time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I will say the fun one, I feel like is, and this isn't going to sound like a positive, but it is. I would say it's harder. I would say if I had to, getting from anger to like not as anger, or like calm, easy, because like anger has all the negatives that make you like not wanna. Making fun happen, it's so esoterically, it's going left to go right. It's you don't do it to do it, and that idea is so meta that it's like you only really get it once you get it, but you don't get it. And you just gotta, you just do.
We're going to have a lot of episodes about this, I think. A lot of like, all right, Aaron, are you having, did it click on? Is that rainbow in your heart?
Right. And this is, and it's more of a you learn by doing type deal. So maybe I just got to turn up the fun meter, because again, on this podcast, we've had a history up to this point for obvious reasons of like leaning into the more talking about the darkness and then giving perspective, all the stuff, thinking, like psychological breakdowns, all that stuff, past, present, whatever, all that stuff. But we haven't delved into the fun of it. Like I let that, and I'm like, okay, I'll fall back on the funny, silly, goofy because we're having those serious talks. Yeah. And that equally as interesting and fascinating to me. Like you said, it's kind of a reason that the people that do tune in. It is fascinating to watch both your growth, our perspectives individually, our backgrounds, all that stuff. Very fascinating. At the same time, if we want to get the popcorn, if we want to, again, like the growth of an audience of like casuals, right? Yeah. Like, it's like I just watched a movie like the other day called Adrift, and they proved this point to the nth degree to me. You know how in a movie, you're a big movie fan, a movie buff. You know how like you can't start, I mean, it's very hard. You can make it work. Obviously, great movies have, but it's really hard to start a movie with somebody in such an extreme, horrible situation if you don't know or care about that character. Like if I don't have any inkling of who the person is or what's going on, like my first thing, and I think general audience's first thing is like, why do I care? Like why should I care about this? But yeah, no, that's a really rough situation. But if I don't know you, I don't like you, or I don't have any sort of connection to you, then okay, you're stuck in a storm. Oh man, rough. I hope you survive that storm, stranger I don't know. Like it's kind of like that. And so it's the fun is what gets people bought in to caring about all of the stuff that we already were. We started on the front end with the tragedies and all the stuff. Not that won't get a certain demographic, because it is very much fleshing out who we are as people. And so it does do a lot of quote unquote character building. I'm talking about this like it's a movie because that's where I went with it. But you know, so all of that, it does work to a certain extent. But if you want the average person to care about any of that stuff, or our audience to go up, or the people to subscribe and like our thing, it works better for two comedians.
Yeah. No, ironically though, my headspace isn't about the audience. It's about for myself. Like I don't even think when we do this podcast, I do not think about who's watching at all. I just think like I just want to work this. I just want to talk to Zero and work this stuff out and whatever.
Oh, okay. So this podcast could equally be us just doing a face chat. Us just doing
essentially, that's all it is.
All right, but it's also nice to have the documentation of your.
Yeah. Zero, we're just documenting our friendship. That's all it is.
Got it.
That's kind of what this podcast is. Weird. Like,
yeah,
this podcast was just us being like, "Well, the world's crazy. You want to be friends?"
be friends over the phone. Yeah, because I would say I absolutely did not know you when we started this at all.
No.
At all. Like, did we start working on the EP as we did the podcast? Which one came first? Was it podcast then EP?
I think podcast.
Or did we throw EP out there and then we started doing podcast?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Because I know, like, as far as like the order that we released it, we didn't start talking about the EP.
Come on. Okay.
I know that one. We've been there. That happens in a lot of the episodes. But the podcast, like, obviously had started up to that point because we have the episodes about the EP. But I really don't remember which one came first. If you were like, let's do the podcast and then the EP. Either way, if you look at episode 1 and our interaction, I'm as much learning about Aaron as you guys are learning about Aaron. And Aaron is as much learning about me. Like, that's as I would say we had maybe 4 conversations before that, as far as like our actual interactions. Because there was the one with me, you, and George on the BuddyCast. And then there was the day-to-day operations of like open mics and stuff where I would see you for like little blips. Yeah. But like, I would absolutely say that like this has been a documentation of like a friendship developing.
So weird.
Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, we'll turn up the fun. I'll teach by doing, and in turning up the fun dial, it'll naturally do. And as far as I'm concerned, I know I brought up all the stuff about the people and the watching and stuff. I was just pointing that out as like that's you get them with sugar more than you get them with medicine and all that stuff. And for me, I find that to be interesting because I've been watching other podcasts and I'm like, why did this pop up? It's like, oh, because in their first couple of episodes, instead of delving into like darkness, they made some pretty good bits that were pretty funny. But again, I'm not going to it because that's the opposite of what I'm saying about fun. It's just, it'll happen where it happens.
You know what's weird is how interacting with certain people brings out a different side of you. Like, I don't know if you listen to Night Guy and Ball.
I've been through. No. It's like always like 12 to 15 minutes. It's becoming consistent, or it's been consistent. I don't know, but it's probably gonna have to be an end restart. Back again.
I think it's the heat.
That makes sense.
I have to turn off all of the air. I have to turn everything off so I can hear you. And I think it's just overheating my phone constantly.
That makes sense, actually.
But fun. Look at me, how much fun I'm having.
It's so much fun. Constantly. Here's how, again, it's turning off my brain. And so, like, here's a fun question. What is the last time that you I'm trying to find a way to put this.
I didn't cry.
When's
didn't
the last What?
Didn't cry? When's the last time I didn't cry?
Oh, do you cry?
Yeah. I cried yesterday.
You cried yesterday?
You want me to explain? It's gonna get sad again.
No.
It's so sad.
No, it's just that again, we're trying to have fun here. We're trying to have fun here. But like the problem is, you know what the problem is? It's like I do enjoy that stuff. So like it's hard for me. Like when you open up that thing, I'm like, ooh. And I'm like as much
I'll tell you real quick, then we'll have fun.
Okay. All right, real quick.
Do you remember Eminem?
Yeah, the rapper?
Yeah, the candy. No, and the rapper. So he made a song called Headlights recently. And it's basically recently meaning past couple years. He's old. He's a very old man. And it's him talking to his mom about apologizing for cleaning out my closet and all the things, all the drama.
Yeah. Is it the one? It has the music video where it's his perspective.
His mom's perspective.
Yeah, it's his mom's perspective, and like at the end, she goes to his mansion or whatever.
They hug it out, and then he drives away.
Yeah, I really like that music video and that song. Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched it.
The lead singer of Fun singing the chorus. It is.
Okay. I believe you.
I really like the song now that I remember which one it is.
Yeah. And it made me sad because, it made me happy in that I know I've let go a lot of that anger towards my mom. Like there's still frustration, but it made me sad because I know that she'll never get to that place mentally or emotionally for it to be equal. Like I just have to be an adult and be like, this is just a crazy person and I got to move forward and I can't let her insanity drag me down. Mm-hmm. But it makes me sad that I don't think we'll ever get to a place of like, hey, sorry for all of that stuff. Like it's not going to happen. And so that just made me sad. The end. The end. Fun time.
Fun time. All right. Yeah. You have been on record as a man who eats butt and enjoys the eating of butt. Do you enjoy having your butt eaten?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're a mutual butt eater.
I really don't like the way you're describing this, but yeah. You're making it not sexy at all. This is very
very
gross.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost sounds like really gross to the general public when you put it that way. How do you say it? How do you say it?
You should change it. Well, you can't because you don't curse, but you should change it from butt to ass. Ass sounds...
it's sexy.
Ass, it sounds playful. It sounds like when you say butt, it's like...
You know, I feel the same way about this is a classic thing. Two things. What is the best and what is the worst word for sex? Or like saying, like when you describe it, what do you think is the top one that's like, that's the way you describe it, it's sexy, it's hot, it works? And then what's the one that's like, never say that ever?
Fuck or sex, it works. I like when I've as of recent, I would say post Me Too, when I would initiate sex with women, I say, excuse me, would you like to engage in consensual sexual intercourse? I'm not joking.
That's funny. I thought you were gonna say, excuse me, would you like to engage in a nice F?
No, man. Whenever we become successful, and then a bunch of women from my past come out to how much they hate me, There's going to be a point around the Me Too era where other women are going to be like, oh, no, he would say, would you like to engage in consensual sensual intercourse? That's what he was like.
You have a very specific moment where these women don't have any evidence because you went well your way.
I think that that's actually a show of growth, is when you've been fucking up or you've been doing something wrong, and then you realize, like, oh, I can see why that's not okay, and then you then change the behavior. That's what's a big, But regardless, I would say that, and then the one that's gross is like, I don't like Smash.
You don't like Smash?
I don't like Smash.
Okay, that's interesting. I personally, for me, see, mine's lean more silly because like the ones that I like are pretty kiddish and like cartoony, but like I like Boink. I don't know why boinking is funny to me. The idea of two people boinking, it's silly.
Okay.
I'm okay with Smash. I'm okay. I don't like slapping hams.
Is that a Southern thing? I've never heard that before.
You never heard slapping hams?
No.
Have you ever heard? You know what else is one that goes back and forth, but right now I really love bumping uglies.
That's like a 50s thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I love bumping uglies. The idea of like calling your parts ugly and then like just doing this with them.
Yeah.
And then the worst one, dang it, it was like, I know it's one of those like bro words. I can't think of it right now.
Yeah.
It's like, I just had it. It's gross. I'm sure it's like as soon as somebody else would say it, I'd be like that one. But like off the top of my head, I can't think of it. But those are my two.
I think first. Oh wait, am I getting okay? We'll get baby steps. In my head, I was thinking, I think I have more fun when I'm in first person because I'm in first person.
Okay.
Like I'm present.
Yes. Yeah, that's usually where the energy falls. Fun comes from energy.
But so far I've had to take a very analytical approach to that of like, I'm not here right now. Let me just go back in.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think a big part of fun is like being in the moment, because it's not future or past. It's very much whatever it is, that's what it is at the time. That's why when people explain stuff, they go, "Oh, you had to be there. Oh, you had to be in the moment." Like it was a in the moment thing. Like it was just such a fun time, is usually because nobody planned it. That's why nobody likes family vacations. Because when you freaking go out and it's like, we're going to do this at this time, and then we're going to do this at this time. It's like, okay.
Are you ready for it to get sad again, I think? I don't know. All right.
Have you never been on a family vacation?
No. When I thought that I hated traveling. I thought I hated traveling. And then I went to Ireland with my girlfriend at the time, and I realized I didn't hate traveling. I just hated being around my family. Like, they just made every experience so okay. All right. So my one of my younger brothers, he's in college now. He's 20.
Okay.
He's doing it online, but I guess his college is in LA, right? And so he has to go out there once a week. And my mom, my grandmother, I think they're going out there with him today. And I was like, why are they? I said to my grandma, I was like, why isn't Aiden just? I shouldn't have said his name. Why doesn't my? I know. Right? Why doesn't my brother? Why can't you? Why wouldn't he just use his GPS? Like he's 20. Just let him use his GPS to get out there. And my grandmother, being it's a very. The intention is sweet, but it's like. No, it's people drive crazy and he needs help to get out there. And it's like you're creating a very weak person. You understand that, right? Like, you're making someone who is going to be incompetent for the rest of their life. And they just want to put their hands in every little thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm realizing right now this is getting frustrating and depressing again. So I'm going to stop talking about it.
No. Like here's the other thing about fun, right? So it's another part of it is not avoidance. It's not that what you just said is depressing. Like, okay, remember earlier how it was like the line between comedy and tragedy is
True.
actually
Yeah.
raising men? Essentially, that could be a fun, funny story.
It's just
That
how
all of
you.
that, it's how seriously you take it, or how seriously you're putting it on. Like, what are you putting on it? Yes, like even what you said is kind of a joke, even though it's very serious. It's like you're making a weak person. That's silly. It's a silly truth. That is
Yeah.
like, okay, so because he didn't use GPS and somebody now he's a weak person. Now he never uses GPS and he only ever has somebody driving, but like, I gotta go to Walmart. Can you come with me? Because I just don't know. I don't know. People drive crazy, and that's just the thing he said. Like, it's all of what stand up is, right? It's taking, like, if you took all stand up comedians' jokes, like, I love John Mulaney's bit about it, where it's like when you read back a joke like on a stenographer thing, it's
Yeah.
like bad. It's like you
Not
should be
fun.
concerned.
It's funny. Like I was realizing this last night from.
I gotta end the stream.
I was realizing this from street stand up last night. It's my tone. Like if I take a tone of inspirational or pontification, people are it's less dour. But as soon as that tone even slightly goes into like the red, goes into this sad place, people the energy just drops. It's weird. This is it. How bad does your childhood have to be to where you need someone to teach you how to have fun?
Pretty bad.
Yeah. Okay.
Be rough. But I mean, hey, listen, it would be crazy to assume that all of us would have good childhood. I mean, let's look at you seen Idiocracy? Idiocracy?
I have.
One of the best slept. Like, it's weirdly appreciated and also slept on. It's one of those movies that, like, when I bring it up to people and they know it, they're like, dude, yes. But like the people that don't know it are like, I don't know. It's like
they're idiots.
It's the point of that movie.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's that thing, right? If you go down the ladder, right? It's like, okay, like people have sex when they're like young, teenagers to like mid-20s. Some of those people, most, are not very smart about it. Some, whether it be because of religious reasons or personal reasons,
they do in the butt.
Yeah, and they don't want to do it in the butt. So they think about like, okay, I'm going to have a kid, but they're also a kid and they don't know what to do or how to raise a kid, or they pawn them off to grandma and grandpa. And so if you're a kid being raised by another kid, your ideas of stuff, it's like a chain where it just like it continues on. So it's like, what are the odds that a teenager was going to teach a child well to like be a well-rounded adult, like grow them into a well-rounded adult? It can happen. A lot of great people come from, it's the same thing we said about our mom's argument or being raised by women. A lot of great people have existed from those things, but you love your mom because she's your mom, and you know that I'm talking to the audience member, and you know that your
we
mom
have an audience.
Yeah, surprisingly, I know. I
Roseland.
mean, like not here right now.
Oh,
there's one person. Yeah,
Rose. I remember this person. This person's from on the street.
Oh,
I think.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate you popping on him when he's not in real life.
Can you type something if you're still here?
Can you prove you exist? But yeah, it's that thing when young raises young, or even old raises young, and they haven't adjusted to the emotional timing. Because I was just talking to my mom about my grandpa and how, like, at a certain point, but at a certain point, they don't change or grow. Like, people who are older usually don't really respect mental health like that. Like, it takes a while to get them to respect it and understand it. Hey, Harrison.
Hey, Harrison. Okay, sorry.
But it's a thing where, like, of course. Like, how old was your mom when she had you?
I don't know.
Do you know how old your mom is?
Hold on. Let's.
Uh-oh. Are we about to find out Aaron can't do math?
No, no. We knew I can't do math. I love you too, Harrison. We knew you knew I can't do math. She was born in.
I'm sorry. Are we gonna skim over you can't do math?
You didn't.
No. What
Dude.
do you mean?
I cannot do math.
Why? What do you mean? How?
All right.
I don't understand. That's like you dropping me. Oh, I can't read. You know that. You know I can't read. All right. Anywho, no. Explain yourself.
It was never a skill. I don't have that skill naturally. And then the way I was raised and the way going into school, it was like the way school was set up. I don't have the personality for the way school is set up in America.
Okay.
And it's not how I learn.
How do you learn?
I learned from conversation like this. So for instance, if we were to go in school right now and we were to go to history class, right? That's an area I'm actually not too bad in.
Okay.
If you were to do the traditional school way of, all right, this person's going to do a PowerPoint and you have to fill out some stuff and bubble in answers, it's going to seem like I'm a fucking idiot and I don't know how to do any of it. But if I would just sit down with the professor or the teacher for the semester and just chit chat about history, by the end, if you were to, I would understand it. But the problem is the way math works is it builds.
You chit chat math. You don't go, so 2 + 2.
Right. And math builds on itself. So if you don't have a strong foundation, you're fucked. And I didn't have a strong foundation. And so my math is, you would shock you.
I would love one day when the pandemic is over and we're able to do an actual together version of this. Yeah. I would love to do some math pop quiz and see how bad it is. I'm gonna call the episode "Embarrassing Aaron."
It's gonna make you sad. It's gonna make you concerned. It's gonna make you concerned it's gonna make you sad, concerned, and confused that I got 2 degrees. Our school system is so bullshit
that I could not know math but have 2 degrees.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's very fair. I will say, like, there was something about graduating high school with an AB average that I was like, how do you fail high school? I don't want to, like, stuff gets hard. I get it. Not learning isn't for everybody in that way. And of course he's gone because we hit the 18-minute mark. And so I'm going to have to freaking end it and reopen it because this thing is not giving us enough time. Oh, I'm not frustrated. I'm not. It's fine. I like it. I like it when technology doesn't work the way it's supposed. We've only gone over an hour now. Usually our episodes are about an hour. And, like, given we've had to stop and start like 3-4 times now, each one of those is 15 minutes. 30. Yeah, that's like an hour half. I should make Aaron do that math. That'll be funny. That'll be fun for me, you know, point out his insecurity. Hey, he's back. All right. This time we didn't have to start over. Hopefully he can hear me when he comes back in. If he comes back in. Okay, good sign. Can you hear me?
I can hear. I just cooled off my phone.
Oh, okay. What is there no way to say? Oh, well, if I was right there, then it would just be wind. So, there's not a cooler room in your house? Apartment?
Nope. I'm in a house. The fact that I have a house right now, I'm appreciating.
That's fair. The fact
I'm not fighting flies.
Yeah, I was about to say I was talking to somebody. I was talking to the chat when you had left, and I was saying how yesterday was ridiculous. Yeah. Like the heat of whatever happened, our house, like I had my thing on full blast just to make my room comfortable, but my roommates, like the living room to the kitchen was a whole different, like if you walked out of my room, you would feel one wall of heat. And that's like, okay, this is the hallway. And then you would go into the kitchen and it was another layer. And it was like, I'm sorry, am I going down into the bad place? Like, what is happening? And nothing was on. I had the front door open.
it makes me like positive. I think no bullshit. Every single day, I don't know where Mecca is. I don't know how to face Mecca, but every single day, I take a second and I get on the ground and I thank fucking God that I am in the position I'm in. I can't.
Yeah.
If I was living in that fucking garage with Aaliyah, my dog would die. There's no way she would survive that.
Oh yeah. Not
Yeah.
not with the heat of yesterday, freaking.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and it's that thing that, like, again, if we could all just stop getting distracted by skin color and money for a second. I don't know if you noticed this. The Earth is dying, and we can't survive if there's no Earth. So
Yeah.
like we might want to get on that. And I was talking to them how I thought I saw a thing. Now, to be fair, it was a Facebook video, so who knows how true. I thought they had created a machine that literally makes rain, that like it like creates huge rain clouds and shoots it up into the air, and then that rains somewhere. And I'm like, if we have that technology, we should definitely be pressing that button a lot, because it's uncomfortable, to say the least.
Yeah, man. Well, it's that there's a good deal of we're all right, okay. No,
Okay.
we're gonna do this fun. We're gonna have fun.
All right.
The destruction of the Earth.
Already you're doing it wrong, but okay.
Am I doing it wrong?
Yeah, you don't turn it on. You don't
Right.
thing.
Just let it flow, man.
Just let it come. It'll
But-
come eventually.
It'll come. But it's that it's the Republican Party is saying that it doesn't exist and is putting a lot of money into making sure that like
this.
no, making sure that nothing is getting done about it. It's like money and oil and all this other bullshit. Have you seen the movie Vice?
I have not seen the movie Vice.
Watch the movie Vice. It's going to change the way you look at the past since like forever, I guess. Since like the 70s, I would say since about the 70s, you're going to be like, oh, is this why we're here? Is this a big part of that? It's crazy, man.
Okay.
And Christian Bale kills it.
Okay. Is it a documentary?
No, it's a movie about Dick Cheney, and Christian Bale plays Dick Cheney.
I remember this. I remember this.
Steve Carell plays some other guy. It is fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, you know what's weird? Steve Carell is one of those comedic actors that like really transcends comedy, and like when he's given the right role and he does his thing, like woof, like that boy got the chops. But anywho's, what were we talking about before that?
How long has this episode been? Because I don't
talking about it. It's at least an hour and a half at this point, so we could cut it off. Like it's fine.
We have a person. Hold on, we should say something to the person before we.
Hello, bad girl, Bree. Wow, that is a username if I ever freaking bad.
She's also on the street. I remember her. She was on the street too, I think.
Well, that's a street name for sure.
Anyway,
she left.
She left.
Yeah,
she left. She totally left. Okay, you want to end it?
Yeah, I'm fine to end it. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of A to Z. I don't know why it took me that long to just go ahead and adjust my camera, but all right. Anywho, I've been Zero Remsen. You can find me at @0_KR anime on Instagram. That's Aaron Chase. You can find him at Aaron Chase 91 on Instagram. And you can find this podcast on the Buddy System Comedy YouTube page on YouTube under A to Z. It's just all our episodes talking about whatever we want to talk about, getting to know Aaron, getting to know me, figuring out his life conundrums, all that to do. Tune in next time where we make Aaron do math problems. That'll be fun. So, all right, guys. Talk to you next time. Laters.